Welcome back to the channel. This is Trinity Storm and you are watching 6th part of What If Naruto Was Chosen by Venom. If you enjoy this video, please like, share and subscribe to the channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
After a few days, Naruto felt strange, and not just because he, Hinata, and Haku had found some new ways to play. He was very tired, but now what worried him was that the Kyuubi and his symbiont were gone. Carnage stayed out of sight no matter where he was. There had been no massacres, no senseless killings, and nothing else that could be used to find him. Which was good, but it made Naruto more nervous. He didn't know where the demon was, which made him anxious. He also had to figure out how to get Akatsuki to follow the small trail he had left. Shadow asked the councilman, as he sat next to him in Ikaruka, "Heavy thoughts?" "Yeah, that's a lot. Akatsuki is after him, but they don't even know he's not here." "Well, I don't think you can just go to the door and knock." "What do you have in mind?" Naruto groaned. "We've got nothing. Why would they believe us or anyone else from this village?" He was about to take another bite of ramen when they both realized something. "We don't have to tell them, because one of them already knows." When Oboro heard the voices, he turned his head a little. "Aoi is dead," the second exam woman told someone. "Ibiki, you really did a number on him." Ibiki said, "Yeah, but he didn't pass out from the pain for 7 days straight. That was real art. I haven't been to town in a while, so what's new?" Anko told him, "Shit, you don't know? The Kyuubi got away. It made his container make a cage bunshin and took control of it." "What's the Hokage doing about it?" "She can't do anything. He's one of our strongest ninjas even without using the fox's chakra, and Akatsuki is looking for it, so it might be best to let them handle it." Akatsuki. Who is Lord Pain? Was one of them here? He just shook his head. During the time they were there, they not only worked with Aoi, but they also forced him and his teammates to talk. They didn't make it as long as Aoi did. Anko asked, "Do you think one of the kids is awake?" Oboro put his head down and tried to look like he was still out. She walked into his cell when the door to it opened. She took hold of his hair and lifted his head. Still, he put on a show. She then punched him several times, which broke his nose. Even though his mouth and nose were full of blood, he forced himself to stay quiet. He knew she was worse than the one with scars because she was eager for them to wake up. "Guess it won't be this one," she said as she walked out. Oboro breathed a sigh of relief and spit up the blood. He had to leave this place, or he would die. And Lord Pain had to know that the Kyuubi was no longer there. He waited until he was taken to the shower room. They were going to tie him to the ceiling and spray him with boiling water from a hose. As he was being pulled out, he used the last of his strength to kick against the wall. This pushed him and the two people behind him into the wall. He must have shocked them, because they didn't have time to brace themselves and hit their heads on the wall, which knocked them out. Forced to stand up, he ran and hid in the shadows nearby. Soon, the alarms started going off, but he still hid there. He knew they wanted him to try to get away, so it was clear that he should just stay there until things calmed down. Once it did, he would sneak away to change his clothes and get a mask. Just as he had planned, they soon stopped looking for him inside the Anbu base and most of them ran out to find him. He could pretty much go anywhere on the base to look for a locker room. They left enough Anbu to keep watch, but he could move around more easily. When he finally found a locker room, he started looking for anything he could use to hide his identity. He was almost out of lockers when he found one that made him open his eyes wide. It was where the Venom of Konoha kept their things. He swallowed the lump in his throat and took one last look at the door before grabbing it. He had to take it because the other ones were too big for him. He got rid of his clothes, put them in a basket, and buried the basket with other clothes. He put on an undershirt, tucked it into his pants, and then put on and tied his boots. He put the strings inside the boots and took hold of the boot bands. Then, like Venom, he tucked the pants legs under them. Taking the shirt, he put the long sleeves on and pulled the mask over his face. The gloves were the last touch. As he was getting dressed, a blonde chunin who wasn't much older than him came in. "Good news, Venom-san. The reward for catching Aoi has been deposited into your account." "Good," Oboro said in the hunter's voice as best he could. Which was nearly the same. "Have I been given my next target?" The chunin turned and walked away. "Yes, you are to find the escaped prisoner. He is thought to be going to aim, so you should go there." But before he did, he stopped. "Are you okay, sir? This is the first time anyone here has heard you say, 'my.'" "We have a lot on our minds," Oboro started to sweat. "Then should you bring truth or serum?" "No, we'll take care of it," said the chunin. He nodded and left. Oboro leaned against the wall. He was out of breath, like he had been running. He thought for a moment that someone would find him. He couldn't believe he'd forgotten that Venom talked about himself in the third person. He started to leave, wishing he had a sword to help make it look more like he was Venom. As soon as he started walking, he noticed that people avoided him. Even in his own village, people said that Venom was scary. He had no trouble getting out of the village on foot. Half an hour after he left it, he started running as fast as he could. He didn't know how long he had, but he didn't think they would believe he was Venom for long. He ran until he thought his chest was going to burst, but he kept running. He ran until the ninja who were after Venom came. But he was lucky because it was only one boy with white hair. "You, give up. I know you're not Venom-sama." "I am not going back," said Oboro. He reached into the only thing he could find before he left and said, "I won't fail at this, either." A kunai and a pouch for shuriken. After looking at him for a moment, the ninja took his sword out of its sheath behind him. Oboro swallowed and realized that he wouldn't be able to beat him in a straight fight. He threw several shurikens at him and started making a series of hand signs. The ninja blocked them with his sword and ran at him. But when the blade went through Oboro, he went away. Then more of him showed up and started attacking him. Behind him, the real Oboro came up and stabbed him in the back. Even as the blade hit his heart, he turned around and slashed Oboro across the chest, tearing his shirt off as he fell. As the poison on the blade started to burn a little, Oboro started to roar in pain. Because it was skidding along his rib cage, he knew it was shallow and that he would survive, if just barely. He made a U-turn and started running again. Kimimaro made a face of pain and took the kunai off his back. Even though he had put bone around his heart to protect it, it still hurt. As he stood there, he looked toward the rain nin. "Lord Naruto, are you sure that this will work?" "Mostly," said Naruto. "Anything can happen, but now it won't look like we let him go." "You did a great job, Kimimaro-san." "Thank you, Lord Naruto." "What's the next play?" "Next. We'll follow him and make sure they get the message." Before getting back up and running again, Oboro tripped and fell. He knew they were still coming and that it was only a matter of time before they caught up to him. But if he could just find one of the AIM patrols, everything would be fine. His head was beating like a blacksmith's anvil, but he didn't care. He had to get home. He fell down again and looked at the object, which was a root. His vision was getting worse. Damn. He rubbed his eyes, feeling better because he still had his headband. He got back up and tried to run, but he hit another person. "Help. I have to tell Lord Payne." When he heard that, the guard looked shocked and turned to the others. "We have to go back right away." Payne looked at him and thought that he was so close to dying before he got there that if he fell one more time, he probably would have died. He was burned, cut, and gouged so many times that it was hard to believe he was still alive. "Tell me what you wanted to say." The Kyuubi, Lord. It. What do you think about it? It. Konoha no. Kyuubi. Oboro tried to clear his throat by swallowing, but it wasn't necessary. The Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi has left Konoha? He gave a head shake. Jinchuriki got away in its own body. Are you sure? If so, how do you know? Heard while being tortured. Aoi is dead, and the others. Before leaving, Pain told him, don't worry, just rest. He looked at the doctor. Do whatever it takes to make sure he gets better. I want to know all the details. The doctor told him, the boy will live, even if we have to use forbidden jutsu. Pain started to walk away. He stopped and looked around for a moment. What's the matter, Lord? Pain went on. No, it's nothing, he said. Naruto smiled under his mask as he stood about a foot away from where he had been. He walked over to Oboro and left behind a tiny bit of venom. Not enough to heal him right away, but not enough that they couldn't help him before it died. He got up and went back to where he had been when he left Kimimaro. That's it, let's go back. Will he make it? At least long enough to tell them everything. All we need to do is confirm it would be a few crumbs to send them after Kyuubi instead of us. I don't know why I do that, a cold voice said from the shadows. When they heard it, both boys stopped moving. Neither of them knew he had been there before. A man in an orange and black spiral mask with only his right eye showing came out of the darkness. Naruto asked, how did you do that? Very few people get close to us and we don't know about it. Naruto Uzumaki, I won't lie, I can teleport. Then you were Akatsuki then, Kimimaro said. But I don't know any of those, so you must be. Uchiha Madara, they all said at the same time. Kimimaro held the kusanagi in one hand while the bone blade formed in the other. Naruto held both the samahata and the cage kiri at the same time. We will tell you why you should stop looking for us, Naruto told him. If you tell us why you're looking for the 9, we'll tell you why you shouldn't bother looking for us at all. Madara raised an eyebrow under his mask. You know I'm after the 9, but there's no point in going after you, right? You're right. You first, and if I believe you, I'll show you instead of just telling you. I don't trust him, Venom, Kimimaro said. Neither do we, replied Naruto. But we have to talk now because the Kyuubi broke out of the seal. Madara said, bullshit, which made Naruto laugh. He lifted his shirt and showed him the seal. It was barely there anymore and looked more like a scar than what it had been. You are telling me the truth. What's your part of the deal now? Ah, yes, of course, he said. Then he showed up next to them, and they all disappeared. Carnage looked at the sky and took a deep breath. He liked the fresh air, the way the grass felt behind him, and the way the blood felt on his claws and blades. Things were going well. He bit and pulled the last pieces of meat off the rib, then threw it away. Heaven couldn't have made something better than how good it tasted. The best part is that Naruto would never stop puking if he knew he had just eaten a raw human. Carnage was happy, sure. He got up and took the cage samahata from the ground. Where to go first? Someplace with people, where we can have fun. Wave. No, not enough people. Venom would never forgive himself for that. He took a leg bone, bit into it, and started sucking out the marrow. No, it can't be somewhere with few people. It has to be somewhere that people will notice if it's destroyed. He crunched up the bone and started to swallow the pieces. He was about to leave when he suddenly thought of something. Suna? Not there either. Gaara could be trouble. Don't want that yet, better to enjoy the upcoming battle. Venom isn't going to wait for me, but he can't beat me either. What is he doing? What would I do? He didn't think about it for a second longer. I'd send those who can handle me after me, but it looks like I'm going to aim. He used his hand to reach down and pick up the head. He tore off her face and ate it and the muscles underneath. So. Most likely he has gotten Pain or someone there by now to know I am free. Which means that they will send their strongest after me. No, Naruto already killed 4 of them that he fought. So they won't make that same mistake with me. No, if they know I have all his skills, they will all come after me. Pain, Kohan, Hidan, Kakuzu, and Madara. He frowned after a moment. He didn't have all of Naruto's skills. He wasn't able to call. Even though he didn't need them. They will all come after me, but since only half of me is here, I can't be sealed. The same goes for my good half. Peeved. As if that weak thing was half. But that jerk kept half my power. I know. He pulled out the tongue and started chewing on it. That also means they can't kill us. I'm not an idiot, symbiont. Now, where was I? Oh, yes, the preemptive strike on aim. It would make the most sense. But you and I can't fight a whole village of ninja. I learned that the hard way. We have to keep them from getting help. He ate the eyes and tore the front of the skull off to get to the brains inside. They want a Biju, right? Then why not give them one? Nami is back in Mist. Yugito and Kira are in Kumo. Rushi is in Konoha with Naruto. Gogyu is somewhere around the ports. Gaara is in Suna. Sabun is in Waterfall. And Kemari is in East Fire. He looked at the skull. I hope that wasn't the Jinchuriki. There's nothing I can do about it now if it was, he said as he finished his meal and stuck his nose into the wind. He stood there for a while before he saw it. Gotcha. He said, and then he ran the 5-tailed dog's Jinchuriki. Kemari could tell he was being chased because the hairs on the back of his neck stood up. I'm tired of this, get out of here so we can stop. Carnage said, hello, Gobi-kun, as he walked out into the open. Has it really been 500 years? From his demon, Kemari felt fear. Who are you? Who are you? Sorry, boy, where are my manners? I used to be the Kyuubi, but now I'm Carnage, and I need your prisoner. Kyuubi, Carnage, or whatever you call yourself now, you should know better than anything that demons don't have the power to break the seal. No, you're wrong. His hands should tie them up. Kemari was confused when his hands suddenly went to his sides and wouldn't move. Nani. You have power over my mind. Not mind control, but my control, Carnage said to clarify. Gobi, you lost a battle to me once, but I let you live. I've come to get my money back. What are you going to do? Carnage didn't answer and instead put up his hand. There, a massive blue and orange grew. But I only want half of you, Gobi, the evil half. He pressed the thing against Kemari's head, and it started to wrap around his head before going into his mouth. He flailed around for a few seconds before his hands came free and made a cross-shaped sign. There was a copy of Kemari, and the orange and blue thing that was on the original moved to the copy. As Kemari fell to the ground, the symbiont wrapped around the clone and made 3 tails and wolf ears appear behind him and on his head. Breathe it in, because soon the smell of clean air will be replaced by the smell of the blood of thousands of humans, brother. It will, agreed Carnage. But first, we need to get rid of Akatsuki, which is one of the few threats we have. Yes, we do need to do that. This wonderful creature says that we are now war, which is the name of one of the 4 horsemen. How many of the others will we free? Carnage looked down at Kemari and said, just Reiju. The others are in places we can't reach easily, and it's not yet time to let them know we're here. He's coming around. Hello, wimp. Kemari stood back up and growled at them. I will stop you, too, the good part of Gobi growled. I'll be made whole again, and this time I'll stay. War made fun of him for being so weak. What can you do to stop us? It's true that we can't kill our originals without killing ourselves, but we're still stronger. You may have half my power, but I have the will to use it. They both knew he was right and gave each other dirty looks. Give me time, and I'll eat your soul. War smiled, and his mask with teeth looked evil. That's right, hate me, desire to kill me, feed your evil self. Because in the end, you only give me strength. But even if that doesn't happen, then know this. I want you to get stronger. Fight, kill, whatever you have to do. Because when this is over, we will fight, and the winner will take the other's power. And I don't want to be bored to death. Now leave like the whipped dog you are. Kemari, Gobi turned and left. Even though his time with the symbiont was short, he got its memories. He would have to have Naruto with him to win this fight. He started running. That's right, run straight to Naruto, Carnage said, knowing where he would go. He looked at his claws as he spoke and clenched his fist as he said, in time, the Nine will be free again, and with these symbionts, there is no limit to our power once we reclaim our other selves. Whoa, said Naruto as he and Kimimaro fell to the ground. When he looked up at the stars, he knew they were no longer on the elemental continent. Since it was lunchtime. As he stood up, he looked around to get his bearings. He was in the ruins of a city that used to be very big. But, unlike the ruins he was used to, most of these buildings were still standing and reached up into the sky. What? Where are you, Will? I don't know, replied Kimimaro. This, Madara said, spreading his arms out to see the whole city, is one of the last things left from the old world. It was built by a race so powerful that they held the world in their hands and went to the stars. It was built so well that it still stands and works 100,000 years after they died. When Naruto looked up at the building next to him, he saw a plaque on top of what was left of the door. He ran up to it and started to clean off the dirt that had been there for a long time. E. M. P. I. R. E. S. T. A. T. E. Naruto's eyes got big, and he cleaned up the rest quickly. It can't be. The Empire State Building. He looked around and swallowed. He was in New York. What happened here? How did everyone die? Ah, so that's why I'm trying to get the Nine. The three of them started walking down the road, and as they did, Naruto saw more signs that this was the place Venom remembered. He pointed to something in the park and said, there it is. Naruto ran to see what it was, and when he got there, he saw a statue that looked like a demon with 9 burned-out eyes. 2 hands were in front of it. A skeleton that had been there for a long time was in between the hands. Something happened here that destroyed their whole civilization, turning the bones of this one and others into something that can't be destroyed. When I first came here, I was amazed as I tried to figure out what it was, and then I realized I was standing in it the whole time. In what? Asked Kimimaro. Naruto's eyes got smaller, and he jumped up on the statue and looked down. Kimimaro, you are standing in a footprint. This is one of 9 sets. That's right, the 9 Biju were locked up in this statue, and this person probably let them out. Once they were free and no one knew how they were locked up in the first place, this world was destroyed quickly, and the race either left or died. No, they didn't die. They turned into us. Naruto looked around and could hardly believe what he was hearing. He saw something over there, so he turned to go there. It was a shield with soot all over it. When he wiped it off, he saw 3 stripes of red, white, and red again, with a white star in the middle of a blue circle. This is where Captain America died. He looked around while holding the shield and saw a mace. He took a look at it and then grabbed it. It was Thor's weapon, Mjolnir, which was very strong. Iron Man's body parts were not far away. The Biju destroyed our world, and we grew from the ashes, Kimimaro said. Yes, Madara answered them straight out. Wolverine's skeleton was made of adamantium, and Naruto saw it. No matter how hard they tried, they couldn't stop them here. I don't know who these warriors were, but I'm sure they were the best of their kind. A Spider-Man. Thrown away and killed like they didn't matter, and I can control them. You want to bring together the 9 beings that almost destroyed the world so you can control them, Naruto snarled. Mjolnir and the shield were still in his hands. How do you know you can control even one of them, let alone all 9? Unless you have. You're right, I did send Kyuubi to Konoha that night. Now that it's free, I just have to wait a few years before I can seal them up again. For what reason? Asked Kimimaro. Naruto tensed up because he didn't like the way things were going. Look at the damage they've done right here, Madara said, pointing all around. The statue of the 9 dragon gods can be called anywhere. They can be set free anywhere. No place on Earth would be safe. And when I have them all, with my ability to go anywhere. Ha 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 ha. The world will have no choice but to give itself over to me. Great, another plan to take over or destroy the world, Naruto said. What will happen if they don't want to go? It doesn't matter, they'll do it anyway. By the way, I'm glad you told me Kyuubi was free. You see, they're usually very smart animals, but when they get angry, they turn into beasts. That's why you waited for not instead of using the Kyuubi. He's supposed to be an animal now, so you had to wait. As long as they are in a Jinchuriki, they are smart, but they don't have control over their power. When they are free, they have control over their power, but their rage makes them blind and stupid. Now, I'm afraid I'll have to kill you. What? Kimimaro asked as he moved away. You see, now that you know the plan, I can't let you mess with it. Thought so, Naruto said as he put the shield on his back and tucked Mjolnir into his belt. He caught Kimimaro in a web and swung away with him. Madara said, useless, shaking his head. You won't get away. He watched them leave, but he knew they couldn't go far. What are we going to do? Kimimaro asked. Fight or try to get away? We think try is the right word here. Only Madara knows where we are, and that teleport jutsu of his is causing trouble. We need to get to one of the towers right away. The question, which one? Naruto pointed to a tower whose door had the word Stark on it. That one. Inside, he led him up several floors to the top. Here it is, he said as he dusted off the keypad and pushed the button that says, Start. Systems were turned back on. Good, it still works. Now scanning. Identity. Venom. Alpha level of security. Open the door leading to the main frame. Agreed to. How did you know that, Naruto? And what is it? Remember those games that you see in stores? Yeah. Those are kind of like a primitive version of this. It's a computer, and how we can open it is complicated. Come in now. When they were inside, he said, lock all doors, condition black. They groaned as they did it, and then he turned to the mainframe. He turned it on, and there were a few sparks before it worked. What do you want to know, Venom? A woman's voice asked. Can you show me a map of the world now and one from before New York was destroyed? Processing. Connecting to Stark satellites. Bring up now. 2 screens came on, and after wiping away the dust, they saw 2 maps that looked similar to each other. Kimimaro, that is what the world looks like right now. The one on the left is what it looked like before the 9 were set free. Bring up the current location on each and mark where it is night and day. There, that is home. What the heck is going on? Cannot answer that question, the computer said. Not enough information. Computer, do you have a record of the release of the 9 Biju? Yes. Play it. A third screen came on and played it. Before calling the statue there, an insane woman stood there. Soon, every living thing on Earth will die. She's human, said Kimimaro. The video played on and on. Several heroes and villains of the time were standing around her, ready for anything. They tried to stop her, but their attacks were stopped by a magic barrier. The yellow and red gauntlet shot a laser at her, but it didn't hurt her. Iron Man, Naruto said, the recording is his last view. When the woman put her hands on the statue, its 9 eyes lit up. Then, chakra started to come out of them one by one and start making the 9 biju. They took in the clean air and then turned their attention to the summoner. Lunch, said the 7 tails as he looked around at everyone who had come together. And for once, there's enough for all of us, Iron Man said. As they jumped, he flew into the air and started tearing people apart. They fought hard, but all it did was slow down the 9 of them. The Juggernaut and the Hulk ran up to the 8 tails and punched it, knocking it down. But it got back on its feet and licked its lips. Oh, nice. Magic and a kind of energy I've never felt before. Nekomata focused on Iron Man, jumped into the air, and bit him in the middle before much else could happen. The camera died, but he could still hear himself scream. This sound was also cut off. Video ended, said the computer. They had that much power, but there was nothing they could do to stop them? Nothing, Naruto said to make sure. We've been thinking that maybe our weapons weren't made by a great blacksmith, but instead are from a time when things like that were more common. Kimimaro asked, but how does this help? Computer, do you still have any suits that work? Iron Man suits don't work. War Machine suits don't work. One suit works partly. More than. Anti-Venom is still contained. Naruto and Kimimaro both asked, what? The anti-Venom symbiont life form is in cryogenic freeze. It was made from the Venom cells that were still in Eddie Brock when he separated from the symbiont Venom to cure his cancer. Naruto asked, why don't we remember that? Lord Naruto, is it a coincidence that both you and that symbiont are called Venom? No, it's not. Can you bring anti-Venom here, computer? Yes. Do it. Venom is a symbiont, like it said. It is a creature that can't live on its own, but with a host, it is almost unstoppable. Normally, they control their host, but Venom became a symbiont and lived with them. The first host was a man named Peter Parker. Bring up a picture of him. The second host was Eddie Brock, the first Venom. Anti-Venom cured Gargan of Venom and then went on to cure other heroes and villains of their diseases. He needed to be stopped before he cured Captain America, so Spider-Man told him to stop and think about what he was doing. In his attempt to help others, fewer heroes were there to stop crime, so crime and murder rates went up. The symbiont left Brock and was put into cryosleep. But he didn't die yet, Naruto replied. 8 years ago, we found Eddie Brock, who was dying in Konoha, and he gave us the symbiont Venom. So you don't actually have a bloodline, you just have a partner. One that, if given to anyone, would make them as dangerous as a Biju. Kyuubi also has one, and it's called Carnage. Carnage, which is also known as Cassidy. Cancel that file. What's the status on anti-Venom? Defreezing has started. It should be done in 30 seconds, and we'll be there in 45. And what about Hinata-sama and Haku-sama? Their symbiont is Truth and Serum. Truth can see all around her thanks to her Byakugan, and for a much longer distance. She can also control wood thanks to the symbiont. Serum has almost unmatched healing abilities. She can control ice thanks to her real bloodline. All of us can make weapons as we see fit, but Truth doesn't because she fights hand to hand. What are your skills? He took Mjolnir out of his belt and looked at it. We are hunters, Kimimaro. We can disappear and reappear at will. No one can find us without a spider sense. He shouldn't be able to use it if what he remembered is true. Can you hold on to this? Kimimaro tried to grab it, but his hand wouldn't close around it. What? This is Mjolnir, the weapon of a god named Thor. We thought he was a god, but maybe he was just a human. Either way, Odin, the king of the Norse gods, decides who can pick it up and use it. There's a lot to think about here. And speaking of taking in, here's it. Anti-venom appeared in a glass jar. Naruto looked at it, then opened the lid and touched it so the two could talk. He is surprised by how much the world has changed and how little is left for him to fix. It sounds like he should see a ninja doctor. Probably, said Naruto. Serum can heal wounds and some diseases, but anti-venom can heal anything that doesn't belong in the body, like viruses, bugs, and even radioactive spider venom. Do you have tuberculosis? Yes. Is there something wrong? I've had it before, and I'm scared to get it again. He doesn't react badly to high-pitched sounds or fire like other symbionts do. A symbiont needs a partner, Kimimaro. You and Madara are the only ones still alive here who don't have one. But that is your bloodline, Kimimaro replied. I understand why you don't want anyone else to have them. Giving your strength and abilities to someone like Madara or the other Akatsuki would cost thousands of lives. Naruto told him, we know, and we would trust you with those lives. In the short time we've known each other, you've shown us that you're a friend. There's no one else we'd trust with this and other things. He looked at himself and then at the symbiont. I'd be honored, but it's really up to him. All you have to do is call a raven and fly us back to Konoha. Behind the mask, Naruto smiled. And that is why he will choose you, Naruto said. Anti-Venom agreed with this. He held the symbiont in his hand and put it out there. Take him now, he said, putting out his hand. When he did, anti-venom flowed over his arm and wrapped itself around his clothes. It turned into nothing, and anti-venom took its place. Kimimaro shook when he felt a sudden rush of air. He looked at the weapons he still had and thought, now, what should I do about Madara? No. Maybe. Computer, can the other pieces be put together to make a full suit that will work? Yes, we're processing. Do it. That's right. What are you up to, Naruto? You saw the video, and they were the most powerful beings alive. Maybe we need their help right now, he said as he took the shield off his back. Take this and go to the training room down the hall. It's a great offensive and defensive weapon. Throw it. He nodded and ran. We need another person. Summoning no jutsu. A raven about the size of a dog appeared. Naruto, how can I help you? I need you to go to Konoha and bring my wives here as fast as you can. It will take 10 minutes. With a puff of smoke, he was gone. I hope it will be fast enough. How's the suit going? Putting the pieces together now. Warning, there is a 5% chance that the suit will survive a fight with a B-class criminal or higher. No choice but to use it, since the opponent is probably an A or a higher card, and most likely a higher card. I'll make it stronger so it can fight better, Naruto said with a laugh. He had never thought he was talking to something that could understand him. Thanks. Are you able to keep an eye on the city? Yes, we've found one human being. Is this the bad guy? Yes. Where is Uchiha Madara? Walking up and down Broadway in a search pattern. Watch him, Naruto said. He knew what Kimimaro meant when he said it was a lot to take in. His thoughts were also almost too full. Mutants, Homo superior, and the main point. Were they people or monsters? Maybe all bloodlines in the end were stable mutations. When Venom asked him what did it matter, Naruto agreed. Haku was still Haku, and Kimimaro was still Kimimaro. It didn't matter if they were Homo sapient or Homo superior. When something made the tower shake a little, he jumped. When he turned around, he saw a bone spike sticking a little bit into the room. Warning. Damage to tower. Please tell Anti-Venom not to use the same skill again. Okay, he said, and when he went into the training room, he saw Kimimaro looking at the hole where the bone he shot from his arm had been. It's pretty cool, isn't it? He didn't answer right away. Anti-Venom told us that he made our natural skills better, so we tried one of our basic skills. Basic. And it tore a hole in the wall. It almost hit us, Naruto said. He could see that the bone in his arm had grown back. Make an attack. He nodded. His first thought was to make a bone blade, but instead he put his hand on the area above his spine. When a bone fell out, he grabbed it and used it to pull out his own spine. It was replaced even as it was leaving. Unlike most bone whips, the one in his hand was very bendy. It fell to the floor when he flicked his wrist. It had a deep gouge cut into it by a sharp edge. Not even the curse seal could do that. We can help Jugo with this. Naruto asked, who is Jugo? Something like our brother. The curse seal is based on him, and he is very sick. He has huge mood swings that make him want to kill people out of control. This is because he can change into different things. I hope you can help him, but remember that anti-venom can only heal what isn't natural. How can you handle the shield? Like it is a part of us, said Kimimaro. He took it, pointed to 3 places in the room, and then threw it. Before coming back to him, the shield hit each point. Anti-venom just knows how to throw it, and we can catch it with our reflexes. That's impressive. Even Captain America couldn't do that when he lost his shield and had a new one made. He was so used to that one, even with its flaws, that he couldn't use any other. Kimimaro, block with the shield. Even as he said it, his hands were moving. He was being chased by an ice tiger, so Kimimaro just moved his shield to block it. When it hit, the tiger broke and pushed Kimimaro back a few feet. That was it, though. We're still alive? Kimimaro was shocked. He really didn't think he would be. Aren't you hurt? No, the shield held against it. Naruto smiled as Kimimaro put his arms through the straps and put the shield on his back. This seems like it would give Kusanagi a good balance. Computer, has Madara changed his direction? Yes, he's going to the Stark building. If he keeps going at this rate, he'll be here in 5 minutes. Kimimaro, we're going to wait it out. No, you're not alone. Yes, we are. Hinata and Haku will be here in about 4 minutes. You need to stay here so the 3 of you can come save us. Make sure one of them puts on the Iron Man suit, we're going to need it. When Kimimaro finally agreed, Naruto turned and left. Computer, have the suit ready for a person to use when it's done. Yes, ma'am. Why shouldn't Madara take his time? They really didn't have anywhere to go. When he heard this sound, he stopped. At first, it felt like gears were trying hard to move. The noise turned into a roar. He looked to his right just in time to see one of the metal things on the road coming at him at a speed that any shinobi would envy. He didn't do anything about it. I find that. Naruto, how did you do that? When we are working, we go by Venom, Venom said. Welcome to the place where we play. Madara looked around to find the source of the voice. He tried to figure out where he heard one of his webs hit something. When one of those things was thrown down where he was standing, he almost didn't roll out of the way fast enough. Alright, this is getting old. Get out there and fight. Why? Asked Venom. The sound of something being swung around went with what he said. Venom let go of Mjolnir above Madara, and it flew at the ninja. He was pushed through the street and into the sewers below when it hit. That must have been painful. Cool. Mjolnir was in his hand again. Madara said, "It did hurt," from behind him. Venom moved out of the way of the punch that almost hit him in the head and jumped up onto the wall. He jumped from side to side, getting higher with each jump. "Don't waste your time, boy. Now I have an even bigger reason to kill you. I didn't want to get hit by that hammer, but it did. Think about how lucky you are to still be alive. Most likely, it wouldn't be." Venom got to the roof and ran to the edge. By the time Madara got to the roof, Naruto was already swinging to the next point. Even though he was fighting someone who could probably kill him in a second, he felt great. Moving like this through the air. Now he knew how Parker and Brock felt for real. Naruto stopped and stood on one of the tower's lighting rods. He was about 3,000 feet above the ground. "That's a great view, right?" "Is that why you were running?" Madara asked, "to see some sights before you die?" "Maybe yes, maybe no," Venom said, then leaned back and moved away from the rod. 100, 200, 300, 1,000 feet, he said. He shot a web at a building, and as he swung around, he almost hurt his shoulder. As he was flying through the air, he saw Madara, jumping from roof to follow him. "Will you quit?" He threw Mjolnir again, and this time it landed on the ground where Madara was about to come. He fell to the ground because there was no longer a roof. That's better. Before a piece of the roof fell and hit him on the head, Madara stood up. "I'm going to break him into pieces." He went back to the roof and looked for him there. He couldn't see him anymore, and he thought that maybe bringing Naruto here wasn't such a good idea after all. "Lady Uzumaki," said Kimimaro when they came into view. "Lord Naruto is fighting the leader of the Akatsuki." They said, "Damn it," and then they glared at the raven. He didn't say anything. "Find him," ordered Hinata to the bird. Haku asked Kimimaro, "Why don't you fight with him?" "He wanted me to stay and tell you and get one of you in that." He pointed to the suit that was open on the floor. "What in the world?" they asked. "That is Iron Man," said the computer. Tony Stark built and planned it before the calamity, as it came to be known. Made to give the wearer strength, the ability to fly, and the ability to fight from afar. Hinata looked over at Kimimaro. "Okay, so what is going on?" "That's a long story, and we don't have time for it. Someone has to go in it." Hinata said, "Yes," and walked in. It started to close up around her and change to fit her. Running a check of systems. Green for takeoff. Green lasers. Yellow for armor integrity. Suggest that the right front leg panel be replaced. "No time," said Hinata. "Everything else is green. Iron Man is all set." "Let's move it then," said Hinata as truth started to flow over the suit. "Armor's integrity, green." Hinata laughed as she ran to the nearest window and punched it. It broke apart. "How do I get to fly?" "Suit runs off of mental commands," it told her. "Nice." She took Haku and Kimimaro in her arms and thought about flying. When the thrusters in her feet went off, she took off into the air. It took her a few seconds, but she was able to get it under control. "That's nice." Cut, stab, chop, and turn. Venom went up the steps and tried to hurt Madara. He wasn't happy at all that his Sharingan didn't work against him. Samahata was taking in his chakra, so he couldn't phase out to avoid the attack. This means he had to avoid the attack each time. But Venom was also not happy. Madara was just as strong as he thought, and he was pushed harder than Madara was. He and Venom were both doing everything they could to stop him from hitting them. As the cage Kiri came up in a diagonal slash, it dug into the ground. Madara took a step back because he knew the Samahata was right behind it. "Annoying whelp," Madara muttered. Venom also jumped back and turned his weapons around so they were facing down. This is something we've never really tried in combat before, so you'll have to forgive us. He started by making a sign that looked like a yin-yang to Madara. He thought it was the Enmu no Jutsu, but Naruto only used it to start. He made a series of hand signs, and the last one was a cross. Kage Enmu, the dance of the crescent moon. Dankness covered the area and completely blocked his Sharingan. He didn't get it. It was just the Enmu no Jutsu, so what was with the name? Then he realized that he would have had to read the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu in order to know the Enmu. So, Kage Enmu. As the blades came at him, he started to fall backwards. 2 more came down from above and almost took his arm off. Wow, you did the seals so quickly that they became one jutsu. What were those in the middle for? That was the crescent moon dance. These 3 moves are our signature moves, so it makes sense that they are all the same move. But it's still not done. Since you are still alive, it still needs to be fixed. Why on earth did you do that? In the end, Kyuubi is our responsibility. Our skills were what broke the seal and let him go. When he got away, we knew we had to come up with an attack he couldn't stop. You know, I've seen this before. Ah, yes, Zabuza, that second blade was a shadow of his Kiri. I should have known that. You could easily be one of the 7 swordsmen of Mist. We think that's a good thing. A few of them, like Zabuza, are our friends. Our wife, Haku, is one of his students. Orin is kind of like our teacher. We gave Suigetsu a hand. I could go on and on. Zetsu is correct. How would you like to be a member of the Akatsuki? The silence was painful to hear. What? When the night fell, Naruto was staring at him with his swords in his hands. But someone else made the sound. Hinata landed right next to him, putting Haku and Kimimaro there with him. You heard me. How would you like to join Akatsuki and become part of the strongest group in the world? When I take over the world, you can be one of my lieutenants. I'll give you Konoha. You could have anything you want. I know that you want to be Hokage, and it will happen. You will fight to keep your people safe, and they will be okay. You will protect the Fire Country and everyone who lives there, so they will never be hurt again. That is what we've always wanted, Venom said slowly. He felt the pull of his offer in his chest and shoulders. He looked for help from the people around him. He didn't have to do anything but say yes to keep his promise. He would also get back in control of the Kyuubi. He only had to say yes. Except that a part of him wanted him to say no. The world seemed to stop moving while everyone waited for his answer. We can't. That would be the fastest way to get to where we can protect Konoha, but the price is too high. Madara groaned. There's no way I can change your mind. I'm not telling you to hurt the people around you. I'm telling you to catch a wild animal that got out of its cage and use it to stop war. A place where there is no war? Asked Haku. We have seen a land without war. The Mizukage made sure of that before we left the water. Life is a struggle, whether you like it or not. Peace comes when you die, and we have seen a field of dead men and women before. Wow, you made it through the Blood Purge War. I didn't know water had such a strong Kekkei Genkai. Forget about that, Hinata told him. There are much more important things for you to think about right now, like how much you will fight before we kill you. That made Madara start to laugh. I fought against the first Hokage and Hinata said, lost, with a smirk in her voice. Grr. Even then, it will take more than brats like you to beat me. Which is why we have these, Naruto said, pointing to all the things they had. We're going to beat up on you. Try it, challenged Madara. Naruto made a few swings with the hammer. Do you remember how bad it hurt? Madara sighed and said, what do you think this is, a cheap story? Stop talking already. He jumped from where he was standing and swung his fist behind them. To his surprise, they all dove and ran away. Okay, this might be harder than I thought, he thought. He jumped out of the way before the hammer hit the roof he was on and broke it. As Naruto watched Madara, he jumped from roof to roof. Hinata-chan, do you happen to know where he is? Behind us. She turned around and put her hands in the air. Same as this? Yes, said the suit. She shot 2 lasers at Madara from her hands. They hit him in the chest and threw him through a wall. We love this thing. Holy crap. That was a mistake, Madara said as he left the building. He made a chain of signs with his hands and pointed them at her. He shot a fire lance at her, which hit her in the chest. Ah. She flew into a building and fell into another. Kimimaro said, Hinata-sama, as he landed next to her. Truth was hurt badly, and the suit was still hot. Anti-Venom, what should we do? He was told to put his hands on the suit, so he did. The claws of Anti-Venom spread out and started to cover her. Truth was better when they got back. Are you all right? Watch out. She shoved him out of the way, raised her hands, and fired another laser blast at him. Naruto-kun, if we can get him somewhere with Earth, we can hold him still. Leave that to us then, Naruto said as he jumped at Madara. He started to attack again with Samahata, which made him move back. Kimimaro kept an eye on them from above while he waited for his chance. Haku, can you make an ice ramp that goes from here to behind him? After a moment, she looked at him and smiled. Yeah. Ice shot out of her hands to make what he wanted. Kimimaro put his shield on the ramp, climbed up on it, and then held on to the building for a moment. He then let go and moved forward. Madara took a step back below them and almost fell. Ice. WHU. Kimimaro ran right into him, and both of them went flying back into the pack over the edge. Naruto looked at the web that had caught the building, and Kimimaro had a huge smile on his face as he swung back up. That was a lot of fun. There are things to do right now, Kimimaro, Naruto told him. Hinata, there he is down there. She fell down and started making signs with her hands. He was surrounded by wood that grew from the ground. Damn, it seems like the Senju won't die no matter what, Madara grumbled as he tore the tree apart. I'll get rid of that family tree for good right now, he said as he came up behind her and reached for her head. Even though Truth's reactions to the suit were getting faster, it was still too slow for him. He started to break up the helmet. Warning, warning, suit's integrity is getting worse. It won't work in 10 seconds. She grabbed his hands and squeezed. God damn it. She fell to the ground after the bones there broke. She hit him with a punch and threw him into the broken statue that used to hold the 9 Biju. Naruto got down next to him and tried to kill him. Instead, Samahata's hands were already healed, so he was grabbed and pulled away from him. Madara picked him up by his throat and put him in the air. He slammed Naruto into the statue, breaking it, and said, "It's time to die." He tried to pull the hammer out of his waist, but he couldn't even get his hand around it. Damn, another smart weapon. You're so lucky, brat. He jerked forward, dropped Naruto, and turned around to look behind him. Haku stood there with a Zanbatsu in his hand. We are not Zabuza-sama's apprentices for nothing. You will never hurt him while we are still alive. From the ground, Naruto looked up and saw him backhand Haku. Naruto growled as he took Mjolnir out of his belt and slammed it down on his foot. Madara was thrown away by a bolt of lightning as Naruto stood back up. Whoa, he said, his strength leaving him. This is new. Metal discs were now attached to his chest, and they were also on the spider's body. Have we turned into Thor? Haku shook her head after she hit a truck. He has one hell of a right hook. Huh? She looked at the truck and found it was barely damaged despite the heavy hit it took. It was black with this white skull on it. She saw the same thing on one of the heroes that fought against the Biju. At 4 is a tank-killing missile. Gun with a magnetic rail. The Spartan laser cannon. She started to grab things. Kimimaro threw the shield. It bounced around a few times before hitting Madara in the back. He let it pass through him before it cut him in half, but it still hurt like hell. He slammed his fist into the shield, knocking it to the ground. The 5 elements gathered around his hands and started to blend together until these orbs of darkness were all that was left. He threw one at Naruto. He tried to dodge it, but it followed him and hit him in the chest. The next one went for Kimimaro. He shot his web at the shield and brought it to bear before it hit him. He was thrown into the building and threw it. Watch out, watch out. Energy used up. Suit can move again in 5 minutes. Madara picked up the last orb to throw it, but he didn't see Haku anywhere. Where? Oh, where are you, little spider? Behind you, she said, then jumped away. Boom. She flipped a switch in her hand, and a huge explosion happened where he had been standing. Haku got back up. Okay, 6 pounds of C4 is too much. She looked up and saw Madara get back up, too. He was missing an arm, but he was still alive. Maybe not. She took the next thing from her back and pointed it at him. Madara got back up and shook his head. That. Huh? He tried to move his arm but couldn't. He then realized it was missing. Damn. He also noticed a small red dot was on his chest. He tried to touch it only for it to go over his hand. Looking up, he saw Haku pointing a cylinder object over 2 feet long at him. The red light was coming from the end. It flickered a moment before the machine groaned and a much bigger and more powerful light hit him. Both Haku and Madara were thrown back. Haku slid a few feet and laughed. We love this. Before that black ball of light hit her. Why don't you kids just die? Madara walked back over, picked her up, and looked her in the eye. A moment later, she started screaming, and then she laughed a little. The mask stops that, Baka. Kimimaro said to him as he tackled him to the ground, you son of a whore, why can't you die? Madara hit Kimimaro with his fist, which knocked him off and let him stand back up. My eyes, brat. I have the eternal Sharingan, which means I will live forever. Naruto asked as he struggled to get back on his feet, and how did you get those? I stole them from my brother, he said. I killed him and took his eyes. So they don't belong to your body? Kimimaro asked. He jumped on him, and anti-venom started to cover him. Madara struggled and hit him hard more than a few times, but he couldn't get him off. What the hell are you doing to me? We're getting rid of what's foreign to your body. Madara's eyes started to burn. He tore off his mask, revealing a scarred face on the right side. He looked to be in his 20s. He roared in pain as he tried to get the symbiont out of his eyes. Soon, they came out, being replaced by his own, with a normal Mangekyo Sharingan. As Naruto sat back down, he shook his head. That was interesting, he said. Ow. Venom, could you maybe help us out with our ribs? He groaned as they were put back in place and started to fix. Haku-chan? We think we'll be fine. Hi, Hinata-chan. In 30 seconds, we'll be able to move. Who is Kimimaro? I'm doing better than you 3. He patted the shield again as he put it back on his back. And these symbionts. How did we survive before we had them? We've completely forgotten how, Naruto said. He could feel the torn muscles healing. Kimimaro was right. How did they live without symbionts? Haku-chan, where did you get those guns? A truck with a white skull like the one on that guy in the video. We took a few things from it that we thought would be useful. They did. Sort of. She put the SLC back on her shoulder and asked Naruto-kun, can we keep them? We guess. He sighed. We will destroy the world if we get any stronger. It's as simple as that. He watched as Haku went back into the truck and came out with a bigger weapon. She pointed it at the statue to try it. Shit. He moved out of the way before the thing was destroyed completely. Haku slowly put down the weapon, her eyes as wide as they could get. That truck is coming back with us, Naruto-kun. Great, Kami. She loves weapons. She pointed the SLC at him. What we meant to say was that we are surprised that a kind-hearted, delicate flower like you is so interested in these weapons. Oh, she said with a smile, we thought you just said something bad about your wife. Never, Naruto insisted. Never in a million years. When they got back, Naruto started looking through the computer files. There was a lot he wanted to know, like what happened after the calamity, why is humanity so close to what it used to be, what happened to mutants, and what about the people who weren't there when the Biju were set free. Mimic is the codename. Multi-Man is the codename. Feral is a codename. Codename, Spider-Man. One by one, the files showed up on the screens, and he wondered what they were about. Naruto, it has been 3 hours, Haku told him. What are you looking for? We really don't know. Look at them, though. We see them, but we also see people we know. He pointed to Iceman and said, you. Cyclops said, Sasuke and Hinata. Mimic said, Sasuke again. Multi-Man said, the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Feral said, Kiba. Mystique said, the Henge no Jutsu. Spider-Man said, Kitamaru. We see Guy when we look at the Hulk. And look at this one, he said, pulling up Wolverine's file. He had bone claws on his hands. He was called an animal because he was as mean as one. Before they were wiped out, Kimimara's clan, the Kagaya, was very good at war. He sighed, are these our ancestors? What's the point, Naruto? Because they fought the Biju and lost, Naruto said. We are stronger now, and he is weaker, but he is still a Biju. Haku shook her head and then turned to look at the two people behind her. Naruto, Hinata said as she walked up behind him, you won't find the answers in the past. But we can learn from it, he said. She sighed, too, because she knew that if he stayed, this wouldn't be good for him. Uzumaki Naruto, she said firmly. Get away from that and look at us. They pulled him away from the keyboard and forced him to look at them. Yes, Kyuubi still has half of his power, and you still have all of your old power. But you have half of his power and even more of your own. You won't find the way to beat him in the past, because there isn't enough information there. But Haku told him, listen to us. If our ancestor was called Iceman, do you know what that means now? Not a thing. We are what we are. 100,000 years ago, they fought and died to protect their world. The number 100,000. So what if they could go to the stars? They're dead and we're still here. When they died, the 9 moved in with us. We've made it this far, and we'll make it through this too. He wanted to just leave it for them, but there was so much they could learn from it. Literally, there was almost nothing they couldn't learn from it. There was even information on the portal that brought Venom to this time, as well as information on time travel itself. They might be able to go back in time and meet those people, or even stop the Biju from being released in the first place. Hinata gave him a hug and told him, we love you, Naruto-kun, but we can't stay here. She stepped back. We're sorry you have to stay. Only ghosts belong here now. She had tears in her eyes as she turned and walked away. Goodbye, Naruto-kun, Haku said as she went after him. Before he went with them, Kimimaro told him, we'll make sure they're okay, Lord Naruto. We hope you find what you're looking for. What the hell are we doing? Naruto asked after a moment of watching them leave. Hey, please wait. He ran after them. You know, now that we think about it, we don't really need the past for our future. We do need a way back, though. When he walked into the hall, he saw that they were waiting for him. And you knew we would come after you, he said. Of course, they all said. Look if you want, Naruto-kun, Haku said, but like you said, your future isn't there. We can always come back another time. Okay. Haku-chan, don't let anyone else have those weapons. Enough people had died in the past. Cross our hearts and hope to die. She started to touch a hand laser. What do you plan to do with that suit, Hinata? It's being fixed by the computer. We think we should keep it in case we can use it against Kyuubi. If we can't, we've already fought well enough. Have you figured out how to get rid of the god look? No. But we did make it work by hitting it on the ground, so maybe. He hit the hammer on the ground, and it turned into a stick while Naruto turned back into Venom. Now we have Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, and the Punisher. Why not find that magic medallion, give it to someone in the Fuma clan, and make them the new Juggernaut? Through a speaker, the computer told them, the medallion is inside the building. We were just kidding, Naruto said, putting his head in his hand. Silver Surfer, what's next? Don't worry about it, because every time we speak, something happens. Juggernaut, asked Kimimaro. A normal person who was given the power to become so strong that people thought he couldn't die. Of course he did. Naruto could see it now, someone gets it and it becomes a clan treasure. That person would spend the rest of their life saying, I'm the Juggernaut, bitch. He did not need that headache. He was already going to get mad about these when Tsunade asked about them. Ever. Agreed, was what they all said. Haku asked, what is this medallion? Naruto sighed and said, computer, bring up the file on Juggernaut. I can't believe our luck, War yelled as he tackled the Jinchuriki with the glasses right through a building and the one after it. We went looking for Reiju and found Nekomata and Hachi instead. No way in hell am I letting you Akatsuki scumbag get Hachi. B. Kira yelled, bringing his fist down on War in a hammer strike. But when his hands hit the hardened skin of the symbiont, War almost didn't feel anything. Over time, the symbiont had hardened into a suit of plate armor that lived up to its name. You don't have a choice, War growled as strands of war grew out of his hands and wrapped around Kira. Brother, you'll make a great famine, he said, raising his hand to show a newly formed symbiont. This one was bright orange with red highlights. He put it against Kira's head. Yugito didn't notice what had happened to him, so he said, Kira may be an idiot, but I know better. You are not Akatsuki. She dodged the swords again. Carnage started laughing. He moved back, and Carnage fell off Kyuubi's face. We are also Jinchuriki, but unlike you and that idiot, we are the Biju and not one of you pathetic humans, Carnage said as he stepped back and covered his face with a roar. Several spikes came out and pushed her back. He turned around with his swords in his hands and made a cross with his hands. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 12 clones appeared. Get her, he gave the order. As she felt the wind on her face again, Death purred. Nekomata said, beautiful, as her foot-long tongue licked her ash-gray lips and her single tail wagged behind her. Almost everyone is back with us. Hard to believe, Famine said, showing 4 tails. What has it been, 30 or 40,000 years? 20, they were told by Carnage. Remember that mortal who appeared from Shukaku's desert? At that memory, everyone smiled. Yes, that Apocalypse, he fought well for a human, said War. He smiled once more. Think about how different the battle would have been if he had one of these. Then his flesh would have been worth it. Imagine if he had lived to see this day, Death said. They have come back from the edge we pushed them to. In some ways, they are so different from what they used to be, and in other ways, they are so far ahead. If he had lived, think of how much power he would have had and been able to take. The Famine laughed. As much as we'd like to keep thinking about this, we still have to free our other siblings, destroy Akatsuki, and help these two, he pointed to their good halves who were struggling. Nekomata growled, I swear I won't let this happen. You have ignored me for far too long, Hachi growled. I won't take it any longer. Yes, fight it, said Carnage. Get stronger. When we come for you, it will be a battle that will send this little mudball of a planet back to the Stone Age. He laughed as he led them away. Oh, you weaklings, everyone else is getting together in Konoha. You should go there, too, because you will need help. Amachi didn't like some parts of the prison. But the shower was the one place he hated more than anywhere else. He had been lucky so far, and nothing bad had happened in there. But that could change at any time. He went in and started to wash himself. When it did happen, he was almost done. He lost the bar of soap. When it hit the floor, everyone looked at it and then at him. I'm done, he said, turning around to leave. But Leroy stopped him. Oh no, you're not. You didn't clean behind your ears, and I've been watching. He stood there, and Amachi knew he couldn't get away. He went back, put his hand down, and picked up the bar of soap. And nothing went wrong. Huh? What? I just thought. Nothing happened, she said. You want to make something happen? No, but I'd heard the stories and... For the love of Cammy, this is a shower, man. Do you want to clean up where someone did that? No. Leroy gave a nod. Finish cleaning up, and don't worry about the soap. I'll just get you twice as much tonight, she told him. That was enough to make him cry. From the top of Skarmory, Naruto, Haku, Hinata, and Kimimaro watched as New York fell out of sight. Naruto, you go to a lot of interesting places. You have no idea. He touched the medallion, not sure what to do with it. Nor the armor for the war machine that was fixed. They had been away for almost a week and were ready to go home. They just weren't ready for what happened. A blonde woman asked, "Are you Uzumaki Naruto?" Yes. Who are you? You're Yugito, and you're Kira. What are you doing here in Konoha? Rushi told him, they are here because Kyuubi helped their Biju escape, except for mine and Gogyu. What? Nami told him, he said that of the 9 Biju, only the 4 and 6 tails are still in his prison. These creatures that said they were Jinchuriki attacked us all. Care to explain? Naruto said. Oh hell, and rubbed his temples. Rushi, Gogyu, you are now my top targets, he said as he looked down at the medallion, the scroll that held the suit, and the children that Truth, Serum, and Anti-Venom were holding in. We'll tell you, but first tell us if Akatsuki is still whole. B. Kira told him, the whole Hidden Rain village has been broken up, moved, burned to the ground, and then peed on. Since he lost half of his friend, he wasn't in the mood to rhyme, even though the half that was still there was much nicer. As far as we know, there isn't a single normal ninja left, and there are only 2 Akatsuki members left, and neither of them is there. Who? One of the guards from Fuma moved forward. The one named Kakuzu left Akatsuki for unknown reasons more than a week ago. The other was a woman named Kohan, and her job was to find any sign of the missing Kyuubi. Sir, the Hokage isn't happy about this. Having all 9 Jinchuriki here in the village is going to cause trouble in the political arena. We were almost at war with Iwa anyway, so it doesn't matter that we have their lost Jinchuriki, said the other. But in the other villages, even Suna, things are bad. They don't know what happened yet, and if they do, they will blame Konoha. Oh no, this means that they have Gaara. Where is he? The guard told him, he is resting right now. Shukaku is much nicer now than he was before, and he no longer needs that alcohol to sleep. Sir, Shadow-sama has been asking where you are. Once Rain was gone, he stopped asking if your mission was done. We'll take care of him. What happened to the 7 then? Rushi told him, they went away. Boy, I know you didn't tell me everything and I missed something important. I think you need to tell us what happened that let them escape at all, and why they can only get away after something is pressed to their bodies. Naruto sighed and looked around to see if anyone could help. They had nothing to give him. You too, leave, he told the guards. After they left, he kept going. We are more than we seem. We are Naruto and we are Venom. A tendril of venom rose from him, and his white eyes looked at them. Our Keke Genke is a relationship of mutual benefit with this creature. For lack of a better word, it calls its race symbiont. Venom gets its energy from its partner. Before we were bonded, we were a hyperactive child. So it gets its energy from your chakra? Asked Rushi. Yes, Kyuubi used two things to get out of us. The first was the anger we once had. It made a symbiont that only wants to kill and hurt. It was kept inside the other symbiont and couldn't get out. But it could reach inside to Kyuubi. It took the evil half into itself to gain control for a minute and created a cage bunshin that it then took permanent control of and made real with the Kyuubi's chakra. What can we do about them? We get stronger and talk to a few people. Except for a few things, symbionts are weak to extremely high-pitched sounds and fire. If Kimimaro gets close enough, he can destroy the symbiont. Do any of you also have something that isn't natural that makes you stronger? No one nodded. Well, that hope is gone, but there is something else. What? Asked Nami. That's not the only child it has, she said. The poison spread back over his body. Since they are 7 of the strongest beings on the planet, we need to fight them. The problem is that they know everything about your training up until they were separated. The good news is that we can give you something that will help even the playing field. He showed them the medallion. Who is the strongest person here? Kira answered, me, and no one questioned her. Since he could use 7 swords at the same time. So you're going to give me that sword? Nami laughed and said, like you could use Samahata. Isanade agreed with her. Watch it, brat, he and Hachi both growled. Enough, Naruto yelled. Before we start fighting each other, remember that we will soon be fighting something so powerful that it can destroy the whole world by itself. He stopped talking. Good. Kimimaro, you are a swordmaster. We want you to test him. If he is able, see if your sword and the other sword will be a good match for him. We know we don't use it, but... He was unsure what to say. He had nothing else from Lord Orochimaru. Don't worry, Naruto told him. We'll take back everything we give them. You don't need your sword if you only have your shield, right? He pointed behind him and said. Okay, Lord Naruto. Come with me, B. If you really are as famous as you say you are, getting Kusanagi and the Raijin won't be hard. Kusanagi? He asked with excitement. Whoa, back up. Killer Bee is coming through. I'm going to show you my strength out of the blue. Yugito put her hands over her head. Your rhymes are still terrible. Hey, don't talk bad about my lines. I keep telling you they're fine. He was going to say more, but Kimimaro, who had had enough, hit him with a webline and dragged him out of the room. Naruto looked back at the group and thought about the people in it. When you were younger, how much more dangerous were you, Rushi? He groaned. Has anyone ever told you about an old ninja? Only young retirees and the 3rd Hokage, Naruto said in response. Well, that's an answer. Under his bandages, Naruto gave a sly smile. Thank you, Hinata-chan. That's exactly what we wanted to hear. She looked at him for a moment before she remembered what he had said. They would return it. She walked up to him, put her hand on his chest, and raised it. Her armor turned silver there. Don't be scared, she said. Silver threads shot out of her gloves all of a sudden and started to cover him. The others got scared because they thought he was going to let Soko go. Naruto and Haku kept them from moving forward. When Hinata was done, the symbiont put on his clothes again, and he shivered. Hinata asked, how do you feel? 30 years younger, he said. He opened his hand and slowly made a fist. He did it by rolling his fingers to make them pop. Soko just tried to get Greed to free him, but Greed told him to get bent, he said with a smirk as he twisted around and popped his back. It isn't working with it, Sabun said. She and Kaku were both confused. The kunoichi from Hidden Waterfall looked at Naruto. Why? Because of Venom and Carnage, he said. The symbionts from Carnage think like him. He was born out of anger and hate. He exists because of us. He looked at Haku and felt bad that he had let his anger get the best of him that day. Venom just wants to get along with his host and live in peace. Nothing inside the host is part of that. Gogyu frowned and said, I don't want to fight, but I guess I don't have a choice, do I? There is always a choice, Naruto told him. He looked at all of them and asked, who is a frontline fighter? Kemari, who had been quiet until then, spoke up. I am, he said, which made sense since he was wearing a heavy-looking armor. Why? Naruto put something in his hands. When he looked at it, he saw that it was a kind of gem. Let's go outside for a moment, Naruto said. That right there is the crimson gem of Sidorak. He led them outside and looked at him. Read what it says. And take off your armor if you don't want it to be destroyed. He was confused, but he did what he was told. Whoever touches this gem will get the power of Sidorak's red back. From now on, you who read these words will always be a human juggernaut. Naruto took a step back before it happened. A bolt of lightning hit him and Sabun was gone. In his place was a 9-foot-tall, 4-foot-wide, all-muscle man with a helmet on. What happened? He asked, holding his head. You are the juggernaut, said Naruto. Figures, Nami muttered. I finally get to see what he looks like without his helmet on, and he goes and gets another one. We know someone like that, Naruto said. Hitaki Kakashi always wears a mask. But that has nothing to do with the present or the past. He looked her over and asked, what do you do? You have more tricks in your bag? A whole lot more. If you must know, I'm a sniper. I know a lot about the crossbow. This is where we come in, Haku said, pulling Nami to the side. Do we have something for you to see? How do you feel about that bowcaster, Naruto? Sure, why not? It's like the crossbow. He looked at the people who were still there and said, before you leave, give Nii-san yours. She hesitated, but then she waved for her to follow. Naruto looked at Sabun and Gogyu and said, and then there was one. But there are two of us, Sabun said. No, Gogyu told me when we first met that he didn't want to fight. And keeping Reiju locked up is more important. Alright, what do you have? He said with a smirk, a war machine. We need to go back inside for this. Naruto stood on the top of the fourth and asked, are we wrong? Did we do what we should have? Does any of this make sense? We were able to save Haku, but Carnage was freed because of what we did. How do we compare to Kyuubi? I don't know, a dark voice said from the shadows. Naruto turned and saw a man with a cut headband from the hidden waterfall. I am Kakuzu, and I have come to kill you and Skarmory. Do you have a problem with us? Naruto asked, already holding his blades. I do, Kakuzu said. I met Skarmory on the battlefield close to 100 years ago. It's time to make him pay for what he did. Your name isn't on the contract, Naruto said. No, but my father was. He was torn apart by that bird. And now that we're back where we started, I'll tear him and you apart. Akatsuki can go to hell.
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.